My name is Kenny Cohen. I am the newly elected president of the NAACP Northeast Queens branch. I'm very excited to be participating in this event tonight. I'd like to thank Rank the Vote NYC, the Queens Daily Eagle, and all of our candidates for participating. NAACP has been fighting for voting rights since its inception in 1909. And to see this beautiful, diverse group of candidates running here in the district of this City Council District 24 in Queens is a beautiful sight. And it's a testament to the work that NAACP and all the civil rights advocates in the past have done to get us to this point. We're looking forward to educating the community with Rank the Vote NYC so that we can take the voting process into its evolution as we explore ranked choice voting here in New York City. Thank you all, and I look forward to meeting you all in the community and continuing the education for equal voting rights.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. President, for your remarks and for being a co-host of this event this evening. Hi, everyone. My name is Sean Dugar. I am the Education Program Director for Rank the Vote NYC. I have been active and involved in policy and advocacy and politics for nearly 2 decades. I hail from the Bay Area of California, where we've had ranked choice voting in my home city of Oakland for nearly 10 years. During those 10 years, I have worked on campaigns, I've run campaigns under RCV, and I've done advocacy and education campaigns. So we're going to talk very quickly or briefly about ranked choice voting. I think we're going to have dropped in the chat at some point soon a link to a mock election we're running. If you all want to click on that, you don't actually have to create a login. You can just enter whatever you want to so that we can go through the ranking process. So let's get started with the presentation. Is it up?
Sorry, 1 second.
Awesome. So again, my name is Sean. I'm with Rank the Vote NYC, and this is our training. So a quick recap on the upcoming changes to our local election. Next slide. So how did we get here? In 2009, the City Council called for a charter commission to review a wide scope of issues, including changes to the city charter, which is essentially the city's constitution. Over the course of several months, the commission held multiple public hearings, heard from experts, and accepted testimony on a wide range of issues. Throughout this process, hundreds of citizens and organizations came out to offer support on many different issues. One of the issues that received the most support throughout the hearing process was ranked choice voting. The commission voted 14-1 to place ranked choice voting for primaries and special elections on the November 2019 ballot, and RCV, also known as Question 1, was passed by voters with over 73% of the vote, and again will be implemented for the first time this upcoming election. So why are we here? The conjunction of robust campaign finance system and the implementation of term limits has led to a wealth of diverse candidates, as we'll see tonight, who under the current system would normally risk splitting the vote. Under our current system, which is called a plurality system, city council members can be elected with as little as 20% of the vote. That means 80% of voters didn't have a say in the final decision of that race. RCV changes that. Let's go to the next slide. So starting on January 1st, actually starting February 2nd, in this case, all local primary and special elections for city council, borough president, public advocate, comptroller, and mayor will be RCV elections. Under RCV, runoffs are eliminated and candidates need at least 50% plus one of the vote to win. Voters now will have the option of ranking up to 5 candidates, including a write-in. Next slide. So what is ranked choice voting? For voters, ranked choice voting is exactly what it sounds like. You get to rate your candidates in order of choice. Your first choice candidate is the candidate that you love. It's the candidate that you make phone calls for or send texts for. It's the candidate that you donate to. Either way, they're the candidate that aligns the closest with your values and that you would like to see in office. Your second choice is a candidate you like. Think about it this way. If your first choice had to call off their campaign tomorrow, would you still want to participate in the election? Your second choice serves as the backup to your favorite candidate if your favorite candidate doesn't complete the race. And unfortunately for you, we're not done there. You get 3 more choices, so you can rank your backups in case your top choices are eliminated throughout the race. So again, your first choice is the candidate you love. Second choice is the candidate you like. Third and fourth choice are the candidates you slightly less like. And fifth choice is the candidate you can stand. Next, we're gonna show a quick video from our friends in Santa Fe, New Mexico, explaining ranked choice voting. And you'll probably need to unmute yourself. Just bear with us one moment. There we go.
Changes are coming to the way we vote. With the new
Are you able to turn it up?
next time you vote, instead of choosing just one candidate, you can rank them all from your first choice to your last. Here's how it works. Let's say these 5 candidates all run for mayor of Animal Town. This voter ranks Lucinda as her top choice for mayor. She also ranks her second choice Diego, third choice Betty, fourth choice Roberto, and fifth choice Felix. If Lucinda wins more than 50% of all the first-ranked votes, then she's the new mayor. However, if no candidate gets more than 50%, then the least popular candidate is eliminated. Sorry, Felix. The remaining second-ranked votes from Felix's voters are redistributed. So, if a number of Felix's voters rank Betty and Diego, then those 2 candidates receive additional votes. The new totals are counted, and the process repeats until one candidate earns more than 50% of the total votes. Congrats, Diego, you're the new mayor. Back in the real world, before it's time to vote, visit votedifferentsantafe.com for more information. Thank you, Santa Fe, for voting and making this election your election.
Awesome. So that's a short explainer video. Again, there is a link in the chat to a mock election that we have going on right now, where you can go through and rank your choices for favorite snack. Can we get that link posted again in the chat? So let's keep going. What your ballot is likely to look like. This is a sample ballot that was drawn up. The New York ballot specifically for CD24 will look a little bit different, but it gives you an idea of the process of circling in, filling out the circles in each column and each row for your candidate of choice. Next slide. So the counting process. The counting rounds only kick off if no candidate receives 50% plus one of first choice votes. And like your regular election, just like any other election, the official winner will not be declared until all votes are counted, including early votes, election day votes, affidavits, and absentee ballots. On election day, the Board of Elections will only be releasing the first round vote totals. After all of the other ballots are counted, they'll release a round by round vote totals to the public. So why should voters use their rankings? We like to say more choice, it gives you more choice and more power. Even if your favorite candidate doesn't win, you have a say in who is elected as your next council member or elected official. You can vote your conscience without worrying about wasting your vote. And voting for a second, third, fourth, or fifth candidate never hurts your first choice. So let's go through some frequently asked questions. How many candidates do I rank? Again, you can rank as many or as few as you like, up to 5, including a write-in candidate. Do I have to use all 5 rankings? No, you can rank as few candidates as you like as well. If there's one candidate you feel strongly about and dislike the other candidates, that's your right as a voter. You can vote for that one candidate. But a ranked choice ballot will work as hard for you as it can, as long as it can. But you have to rank more than one person for that to happen. Next slide. Can I rank a candidate more than once? You cannot. Under the current city charter, if you rank a candidate more than once, it invalidates your ballot. So we want to make sure that you are ranking a candidate only once. Now, if you make a mistake on your ballot and rank the same candidate more than once, and you're doing in-person voting, you do have the opportunity to get as many as 3 ballots to ensure that a correct ballot is cast. And then lastly, does it hurt my favorite candidate to have a second choice? Again, no, your second, third, fourth, or fifth choice does not go into effect unless your first choice candidate is eliminated. So let's talk about RCV as some essentials to remember. Again, starting this year, you'll be able to rank up to your top 5 candidates for mayor, comptroller, public advocate, borough president, and city council. Why ranking? Because it gives you more power as a voter. There's no more wasting your vote, accidentally helping elect someone who you don't support, worrying about splitting the vote, or someone being elected with less than a majority. So I think quickly we're going to switch over to talk about the results from the mock election. And I will post that link in the chat so you all, if you want to, can go there with us. And Natalia will have to have you click on that as well so that we can show everyone the results. Great. And so here you can see in the very first round that hummus and veggies is winning, but no snack reached the 50% threshold, 50% plus 1, which would be 11 votes. So we go into the next round. Uh-oh. Hold on. So we go into the next round, which shows the candidates with the lowest number of votes, their votes going to second choices. Next. And so we keep going through that process, eliminating the snack with the least number of votes until a snack reaches 50% plus one, which when we run it all the way to the end, you see that cookies are our winner. So with that, I want to thank you. If there are any questions for us, we will take a couple of questions now. Or if you want to type them in the chat.
Yeah, there's a question in the chat, and I think we should get started with it, with the forum. And so I think, Sean, you can reply to the person's question in the chat in the text.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.
Well, let's begin this. A very good evening, all. My name is Aditi Lamba, and I'm a TV anchor and a content producer at ITV Gold, based out of Astoria, New York. I host a daily show, a South Asian news segment called Vision of Asia. ITV Gold is the longest serving South Asian network in this nation, and we proudly represent the community voice through a variety of issues dealing with politics, medicine, culture, and much more. During this pandemic, we have continued to bring thought-provoking and knowledgeable news featuring elected officials, doctors, community activists, organizers, and many more. I'm super excited to be here at the forum today, and we hope that we are able to really promote ranked choice voting through this. Now I'd like to introduce my co-moderator for this evening, David Brandt from the Queen's Daily Eagle.
Thank you, Aditi. My name is David Brand. I'm editor of the Queen's Daily Eagle. We are Queen's only daily English language print paper, and you can find us at queenseagle.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Queen's Eagle. I'm also the co-host of a weekly Sunday morning live news show on WBAI 99.5 FM called City Watch, which I host with my friend and partner Jeff Simmons, who is also from Queens. So this show definitely has a distinctive Queens flavor to it. So I encourage you to tune in every Sunday, 10 a.m. on 99.5 FM. Really excited to be participating in this forum. Kind of a historic moment. It's our first test of ranked choice voting. And so it's cool that it's happening in Queens. Thank you, Common Cause, for inviting us to participate. Aditi, you want to talk about some of the candidates?
Yes, for sure. In the essence of time here, we're going to skip intros from the candidates, but we'd like to introduce them ourselves. So going ahead, let's introduce some of the candidates that are here today joining us. We have Moumita Ahmed, who is a progressive leader, Deepti Sharma, a community organizer and a small business owner, Dilip Nath, a higher education executive. David?
We have Dr. Neeta Jain, who's a Democratic district leader and a psychologist. We have Jim Gennaro, a former city council member trying to reclaim his old seat, and Soma Syed, a Queens civil rights and defense attorney. There are two candidates who won't be joining us today. They are community activist Mukji Rahman and real estate agent Michael Earl Brown. Mr. Brown will be attending a forum hosted by Chaya tomorrow. This is just one of several forums that are introducing voters to the candidates and to this new format.
Yes, for sure. Chaya is hosting a forum tomorrow featuring all these candidates, and it starts at 6 p.m. So make sure you tune in for that as well. Let's now go ahead and just discuss the ground rules very quickly. We will expect the candidates to answer for about 1 to 2 minutes each. This is a forum, it's not a debate. We're not trying to discuss district-specific issues, but we're trying to see how you are adapting to ranked choice voting and much more. And again, Chaya is hosting an event tomorrow, so make sure you tune in for that. David, why don't you take ahead and let's discuss questions with our candidates?
Yeah, let's get into it. So as Aditi mentioned, this is going to be less focused on district-specific issues and more about learning how candidates are adapting to our new ranked choice voting format. And there's several other forums coming up. There's Chaya hosting one tomorrow. I'll be moderating a forum later this month with Citizens Union as well, when we'll get more into some district-specific issues. But this is going to be, again, more about the new ranked choice voting format. So let's talk about this district, District 24. Successful coalitions here could transcend traditional blocks in our multicultural, multi-ethnic District 24 in Central Queens, because ranked choice voting encourages that kind of coalition building. There's a large Orthodox Jewish population in Kew Gardens Hills, including one of the nation's largest communities of Buharian Jews. There are various South Asian communities in Jamaica and Jamaica Hills, including many residents who identify as Hindu and Muslim, immigrants, first-generation New Yorkers who are from Bangladesh, from India. There's a predominantly white moderate electorate dominating the vote in Briarwood and pockets of Jamaica Estates and Hillcrest. The Pominock houses feature a large number of Black and Latino New Yorkers. And then there's that quirky bit of Electchester, the section that's home to many members of the IBEW labor union who have tended to vote as a bloc in favor of the union endorsed candidates. So like many districts in New York City, very diverse, very interesting place. Want to talk to the candidates. How does the district's diversity influence your campaign outreach? And let's start just the order that candidates appear on the ballot. Let's start with Moumita Ahmed.
Hey, thank you. Thank you so much, Common Cause, for hosting this amazing debate. Thank you, David and Aditi, for moderating, and to all the candidates who are here. Yeah, you know, I actually helped pass ranked choice voting as as field and education director for Common Cause, and I believe in this way of voting. Otherwise, I wouldn't have gotten involved. And for us, it's all about reaching out to various communities in the district, especially those who have felt neglected in the last decade or so, their voices, especially working class people. And as the only renter running, I am mobilizing all of our communities around the issue of housing justice and talking to voters about the platforms that affect them, that impact them, especially during the pandemic. And so we have brought together a broad coalition of people, from the Hispanic American Voter Association to the Working Families Party to New York Communities for Change to Bangladeshi American Advocacy Group to the Jewish Vote, to come together on our campaign to promote the issues like housing justice, like community safety, like the Green New Deal, and the pandemic, the response to the pandemic. And that's how we're talking to voters. That's how we're advancing the agenda of ranked choice voting.
Thank you. So same question, how does the district's diversity influence your campaign outreach? We'll go to Deepti Sharma.
Hi, thank you everyone for being here. And, you know, I wish we were doing this in person, but here we are. So, I mean, ranked choice voting has been, I think, really, really important for all of us and every single candidate. It's an opportunity for voters to support more than one candidate, to get to know different candidates, and to be able to really think about, if not their first, then their second. So it's definitely something that is really, really important for us. I was born and brought up in this district on 155th Street, right by Queens College. My son is going to the same school that I went to, and our focus has been talking to every single voter, right? The name of the game is talking to everyone that lives in this district. I'm not here to represent the South Asian district, but every single person that makes this beautiful district exactly what it is. You know, we're in the middle of a pandemic still, even in a new year. And so what we want to focus on is the issues people are facing today. People are facing, you know, what's going to happen with COVID relief? How is the vaccine being given out? How are we creating safe environments for people in their workplace, in their schools, and in their neighborhoods? So we want to make sure that we're tackling those issues and talking to voters exactly about what is important to them, while also talking about equity in education and in housing as well. So for us, it's listening to every single voter, understanding the issues that they're going through right now, not the issues that they're going to be facing in a year. What are the issues that are happening right now, and what are the solutions that we're going to be able to help them with? It's why we've launched 24 ideas in 24 days, 24 days till the election. We'll be launching a new idea every single day in order to let our voters know what it is that we're trying to you know, do for this district, for every single person that lives here.
Thank you. And let's go to Dilip Nath. How does the district's diversity influence your campaign and your outreach?
Thank you, David, Common Cause, and of course, our friend Aditi for hosting this event this evening. You know, look, Queens is the most diverse borough, and I'm excited to see that ranked choice voting taking place. first here in New York City at the borough of Queens and here in the District 24. Now we speak 190 different languages from 200 different countries. And what other better place to have a ranked choice than here in the borough? Let's go back for a second, right? Before even the ranked choice, we had something called term limit. Term limit was introduced so that we have a new leadership can come into the lead the city, lead the borough. There is also diversity. And then, of course, now we have ranked choice voting that will further enhance the concept of diversity and inclusion in the diverse borough that we live in. So I'm very excited that is happening here in the Queens. I'm excited that it's happening in the District 24. Yes, as you have mentioned, District 24 have all the nationality that you can think of. It is the melting pot of this city. And the idea is, what matters to you, what matters to Jewish, what matters to South Asian or Latino is mattered to me. Safe street, a good education for our children, easy access to our healthcare. What we have seen during the pandemic, it has devastated our senior, destroyed our economy. And I am running for city council so that we can bring a real solution, a pragmatic solution post-COVID, because we cannot continue the way this city has been leading.
Thank you, Mr. Nath. Same question to Dr. Neeta Jain. How does the district's diversity influence your campaign outreach?
All right. A very good evening to all, and nice to see you, David, in person. Like this is our new new way of meeting.
This counts as in person at this point,
Yep.
I think. Yeah.
And Aditi, of course. All right. So thank you so much for Common Cause for bringing all the candidates together on one stage. Right to your question, David. Ranked choice voting, as you said, and our presentation said, that it's bringing all the communities together. And this is the right way to bring specifically the minorities, specifically the immigrant communities on the board, on the mainstream. So that's why the ranked choice voting is very important in today's world. But it is not affecting my election. Why? Because I've been a leader in this community where I'm running from. I am already elected district leader for this district. I've been working with community for 30 years, and I am known as, I have a long history of bringing all the communities together. And that's why I distinguish myself from others, that because of my background of the social community work and because of my background of professional work. As a school psychologist, I have a PhD in psychology. I'm also a mental health counselor. I'm not talking about what we can do and what we could do and what should we doing in future and this and that, but I'm living every single day in my community, helping people, listening to their issues. I'm seeing them firsthand by myself, what they are going through in this pandemic. And my background definitely is making a difference in their lives. And that's, I'm very honored and I'm really privileged to be here in this district, serving them firsthand. You name it and you get it, kind of things like the small businesses are suffering. They are coming to me directly for, for help. They need help for every tiny things. Like they need help to fill out the forms for SBA loan. If schools, they do not have proper devices, kids are suffering at home. Parents do not have, not everybody has higher education to teach their parents, they are not fully equipped with the technology and they are having difficulty teaching their kids at home. So there are a lot of things are going on, which I'm working directly with my community, with my educators, with my small businesses, and I'm trying to help them. And as I said, that I also work with the seniors as well.
Right. And we can talk about we can continue talking about that. We'll go on
I
to.
thought that everybody's completing everything in one time. So I said, okay, but I totally understand. That's
No,
why
that's right. About two, we're trying to keep everything to, between 1 and 2 minutes, but we'll get into more of that conversation as we continue. But thank you, Doctor. Next up, we have Jim Gennaro. How does the district's diversity influence your campaign outreach?
You're on mute.
You're muted, Mr. Gennaro.
Sorry. How about that? Is that a little better?
Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that. I was just thanking David and thanking Aditi and thanking Common Cause. I have the benefit of having served the community for so long and probably being the only candidate that has really had the opportunity, the real joy to work in very close common cause with every neighborhood, with every group, with every racial group, every ethnic group, every language group, every religious group. So I have done everything that I know how to do, going back, to my day when I was in office, to now, to reaching out to all the people that I have close relationships with, even the people who are here tonight. I was the one that appointed Kenny Cohen, to the community board. I appointed the first Bangladeshi woman to Community Board 8. I was the one that tried to open doors to every group that is part of the great mosaic of the district that I had the privilege to serve and hope to serve. And so I'm quite confident that my relationships will serve me well in the upcoming election. As I said, I've had the ability to really immerse myself in every community and really have a profound impact in all communities, and I think people remember and appreciate that.
Thank you. And finally, Soma Syed, how does the district's diversity influence your campaign and your outreach?
Good evening, David and Aditi. Thank you for moderating. I also like to thank Rank the Vote NYC, NAACP NEQ, Queens Daily Eagle, Disability Rights New York, and Common Cause New York for hosting this. I am a practicing attorney. I grew up in Jamaica, and I've been serving this community for the last 20 years. Because of my business connection as a small business owner, my bar association connections within the legal community as the president of the Queens County Women's Bar Association, and my community work that I've been doing. And every community means a great deal to me because the issues that affect us, they're all same issues. Right now, what's affecting us is the unemployment or underemployment. Education is affecting all of us. And a small business reliefs and assistance, we're not getting enough. So these are issues affecting every community. And my connections with each and every community is very close, whether it be the Black community, Hispanic community, all the Asian community, Jewish, and the white community, because we are all together in one community. We're all looking to better our lives and the lives of our future, our children. So my approach, I am so excited to be running in this time because we need leadership that is of the future, not of the past. We need leadership that counts everyone. We need leadership that brings everyone to the table. And that's what I plan on doing because that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to remind everyone, we're going to try to keep answers between a minute and 2 minutes. So, we may cut you off after a little while, but we still have 45 minutes left, but several candidates, several questions, and we want to get to audience questions. So turn it over to Aditi for the next question.
And for the audience, we're so excited that you're joining us. There's so many members here that are watching us right now. If you have a question, especially for ranked choice voting, please drop it in the chat. We'll love to answer it. The candidates will also respond when we go to the audience. So go into your chat. Now let's go to the next question. I know a lot of issues are at stake right now in this election, but I have an interesting question on the issue. Is there an issue that the candidates here consider taboo or too hot that you feel that the ranked choice voting allows you to campaign on or even talk about? So we'll start this with Moumita.
Yeah, I think that we have to make sure that we're talking about workers' rights, and that includes sex workers. And we need to make sure, right, that we pass laws, right, that are protecting all of our workers. And we also I feel like one other issue that's taboo, but we need to address, because this is the issue top priority right now, is making sure people, especially homeless people, have a place in our communities, in our societies. Because you know what? We're closer to being homeless than becoming billionaires right now. And we need to address the homelessness situation and make sure we invest in our shelters and give these people the opportunities to come back to our society to get relief. And I think those are often taboo issues because we're talking about working class Black and brown folks, and it shouldn't be. And that's why ranked choice voting is so great, because it allows candidates like myself who come from working class families. My mom was a fast food worker. My dad, who lost her job during the pandemic. My dad worked overtime as a factory worker, packaging medicine every day, doing graveyard shifts. Like, these are working class people. And without ranked choice voting, I wouldn't have a platform to talk about working class issues, talk about how our workers are facing harassment in the workplace, or that tenants are being harassed by real estate developers, and many of the people that live as renters, right, and work low-wage jobs are Black and brown, and people who are impacted by policies that are excluding workers like sex workers, right, LGBTQ folks, transgender workers, and homeless people, and also people who are, who went to jail and are felons. Like, we need to take care of everyone during this pandemic.
Yes, thank you so much for your response. Let's now go to Deepti Sharma. Deepti, what is an issue that you consider that is taboo, but RCV has allowed you to campaign on and talk more freely about?
I think in this district specifically, policing is one of those issues that I've noticed that does alienate a few people or groups of people. But I think one of the most important things that we need to think about is, how do we reinvest in our communities? How do we shift what's happening with the NYPD right now and think about what do we need to do in our communities to actually enrich and grow them? So one of the things that I keep hearing about, like a story that I think everyone can relate to, is a Queens College student who I met with while I was out petitioning, talking to us about how he was having a panic attack when he was during his finals. And what happened? He called 911, and instead of a mental health professional or social worker showing up, cops showed up and they handcuffed him. And that didn't help the situation, that made it worse. And what we need is trained professionals that can actually help in those kinds of situations. So for me, what I think has been really important and what ranked choice voting has helped with for us to address is issues like policing and how we're going to invest in our communities. Another example is I grew up going to Pomona Community Center. We want to talk about funding and where the money goes. That community center used to have programs like Taekwondo. It used to have programs like gymnastics, dance. That's exactly where I learned those things. And none of that exists. The only thing that exists there is homework help. So what we went from is some great, amazing enrichment programs for their youth to absolutely nothing. And so when we talk about investing in our communities, we need to keep talking about, where's the money going to come from? How are we going to generate new forms of revenue? And that's the other thing that's been really important for us, is talking about generation of new revenue. So policing and generation of new revenue, while also enriching our neighborhoods, putting the money back into the system so that we can actually give parents like myself with 2 young kids places to send their kids besides just school and an after school program that's just homework help. Kids need more than just the basic necessities. They need different kinds of experiences so that they can continue to grow on different levels.
Definitely. Well, thank you for your response. Let's now go to Mr. Jim Gennaro. What is an issue that you consider is tabooed, but you've been able to talk more and more about?
For me, nothing is taboo. Nothing is off the table. I mean, everything has to be put on the table. Everything has to be discussed. That's how I've always worked. I wish I could. However, just to reply to Deepti, I was happy to fund the good programming that she did enjoy at the Pomona Center, and so that was my funding.
I did that in the 90s, though. I did that in the 90s.
But okay, well, I continued that through the 2000s. But but again, this is the answer to the question is not about What I funded is about what's taboo, and I've never operated that way. Everything is on the table, everything matters, and that's how I've always approached everything.
Definitely. Well, thank you for your response. Let's now go to Soma Syed. What do you think is a taboo issue that you are being able to talk more and more about due to RCV?
You know, honestly, when I reach out to voters, I'm talking about everything, the issues that really matter to them in their particular circumstances. So I haven't shied away from any issue. And you know, everything that's happening to even a one person in our community needs to be discussed. So I will not consider any issue a taboo because these issues matter to someone and some group. So every issue matters, and I discuss every issue and I talk to my voters. And it's been an exciting experience to talking to voters, getting their feedbacks, learning from them, and teaching them about ranked choice voting and about the future and the direction of District 24. So I am super excited about February 2nd and early voting. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Let's now go to Dr. Neeta Jain. What issue are you considering a little taboo that you have been able to talk about due to ranked choice voting?
All right, very good question, first of all, and we all know what we are going through. So my issue is a mental health, which is affecting every single age, not only in my district, but all over the world. And I'm sure that everybody agreed with that. School children are growing with anxiety, right? Our youths are out on the streets and they are doing more and more drug abuse. And our seniors are going through depression during this whole pandemic. So that is a very big challenge for us. Like physical health, you can get rid by taking medicine and taking therapy and this and that, right? But mental health is really suffering, and we have to pay attention to this. We have to make it most prioritized. So that is my main taboo and issue. And ranked choice voting definitely is a place where we can promote, where all other candidates can come together and agree to this issue, and this issue will be there forever. It's not going to go away that easily. So we really have to pay attention to this one.
Thank you for your response, Dr. Neeta Jain. Let's now go to Dilip Nath. What do you think is an issue that you've been able to talk about more due to RCV this time?
Well, there are so many issues that are important to me and the community, but let me just touch on two of the important ones. You know, COVID-19 had exposed some of the deadly flaws in our city. You know, what we have seen, you know, during the pandemic, we're failing our children, we're failing them alone. The lack of technology, lack of resource that we have. You know, many parents are embarrassed because they cannot afford, you know, broadband, good, high-paying, good broadband. You know, in today's age, you know, we cannot operate, and we have seen that without a good broadband. And so, unfortunately, so many low-income family in my district, they cannot afford it. You know, it's an extra $100 for them. And then on top of that, buying a laptop or iPad, if they have 3 or 4 children, imagine that, what kind of anxiety and pressure that we have put on our low-income family. And secondly, Queens has become an epic center during the pandemic. It's not by no magic. We have a far less hospital bed than any other borough in the city. And that did not happen in one day, because the first leadership in my district, in this borough, let the hospital close. And that is exactly why so many of our brothers and sisters lost their life. And there's so many empty chairs at our dining table today. So these are the issues that I am fighting for.
Thank you so much, Dilip, and thank you everyone for responding to that question. Lots of issues here that we're discussing. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I think that's, I don't know if some of those issues I consider taboo necessarily, but maybe we can get into that in the coming days and weeks as we continue covering these campaigns. Want to flip the order that we asked questions just now. So I want to ask this question to Dilip Nath. Ranked choice voting helps focus campaigning on issues rather than attacks, unlike in a winner-take-all election. Regardless of whether you consider ranked choice voting to be an advantage to your candidacy, How do you think it may serve voters, and how are you working with other candidates, or how are you talking differently to voters?
Well, first and foremost, in the past, we had someone could get elected, only get 20 or 30% vote. At least this time, whoever get elected, they would have to get at least 50% or more. So the idea is the issues are important. The issues that are impact every community: education, healthcare, housing, transportation. These are the issues that are so much vital to our community. So all of the candidates are presenting something good, I hope. Obviously, my plan are better than all, but it's still, partnering with, other candidate who has bringing a real solution and building a true coalition so that we can bring the issue forward rather than just one single agenda that serve only one particular group of people. So rather, it serve all the community, all the people in the district.
Well, thank you. And that's, I think that's not something you usually hear at a forum. All the candidates are presenting something good and partnering with candidates for coalition. So I think that shows right there some of the changes here with ranked choice voting. But let's go to Dr. Neeta Jain. Regardless whether you consider ranked choice voting to be an advantage to your candidacy, how do you think it may serve voters, and how do you find yourself working with candidates or talking about yourself and other candidates differently?
We are almost on same page, and we are working together for the community. And that's a common goal actually for the RCV, that we all should work together for our community, for our constituents. And, the RCV is giving a broader platform to everyone, not for the one person. And the good thing that you said in the beginning, that the RCV is definitely eliminating attacks or negativity, and that's the beauty of RCV, I would say. And I think everybody should follow that.
Thank you. Let's go to Soma Syed. How do you think ranked choice voting can serve voters, and how is it affecting the way that you're campaigning and talking about yourself as well as other candidates?
I think ranked choice voting is focusing voters on getting to know all the candidates and their policies, their platforms, and who they are. And as far as my candidacy and my campaign are concerned, we are focusing on issues that really matter, issues that affect people's lives, their housing, their bank, their small businesses, where so many businesses had to shut down. If you walk on Hillside Avenue, Casino Boulevard, Union Turnpike, South Bend Person, so many businesses have shut down. We're talking about education, where language accessibility is a big issue. We're talking about employment. How do we get people back to jobs? How do we push our government to get funding from the federal government? I'm very hopeful with the Biden administration that we're going to get the funding that our city needs. So these are the things I'm focused on, more on the issues, talking to voters one-to-one, and having them get involved in the process. And that's what's so exciting about the whole election process, civic process, and the RCV. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's go to Jim Gennaro. Regardless of whether you consider ranked choice voting to be beneficial, to be an advantage to your candidacy, how do you think it's serving voters, and how are you talking to voters differently?
Yeah, I'm not really talking to voters differently. I've always spoken to all voters and to all constituencies. Yeah, I think ranked choice voting is a great idea because it creates more opportunities for emerging minority groups in the district that are moving into the political mainstream, and that is always a very, very good thing. So I think in and of itself, it is a positive thing, which is why I voted for it. But I think the way it's going to play out, I think this is something that is going to happen organically. Like Soma said, people are going to be looking at all of the candidates, and they're going to be thinking about their number 2 and their number 3, and they'll be paying attention to more people's platforms. And I don't think this is some kind of strategy that candidates or campaigns have to do, I think that sells the voters short. I think the voters are smart enough to figure out, which person they want to vote for second, third, fourth, and fifth. And so I think this is something that will happen organically among the electorate. So I think it's all good, and I'm not sure if it helps me or not, but I do have broad outreach in all of the communities of the district, and I feel confident.
Thank you. And let's go to Deepti Sharma. How do you think ranked choice voting can serve voters, and how is it affecting the way that you're campaigning and talking to voters?
Yeah, I think it's really important for voters because it's been said before, but I think that it's giving a chance for voters to actually research and look up every single candidate, because now that they know that they're not just voting for their number one, they're voting for number 2, 3, 4, 5 in one shot. It's been a great way for them to do the work, do the research, get more involved in local elections, and remember that local elections have a huge impact on their day-to-day lives. It's not just what they see on a national level or state level, that they have to focus on what's happening on a city level. So that's been really, really important, is to actually talk through why ranked choice voting is important. And, when we're doing calls and someone says, I'm voting for so-and-so, we immediately talk to them about ranked choice voting, because we know that they just don't know enough about it. And that's where we educate them, like, hey, if you're not going to choose us as your number one, how about number 2? Here are some of the things that I am focused on. And again, like, we're not focused on talking them into voting for us as their number one, but as their number 2, and talking about the important things that we feel are important to the district and the issues that matter the most. So for us, that's just what it's been, is making sure that we're approaching it with an educational standpoint, and getting as many votes as possible on all levels, not just the ones with the 2, 3, 4s, and 5s. Have you said to voters, I know you like this candidate, but I'd love to be your number 2? If they've said it to us, then yes. I can't predict who's voting for who, right? Unless they tell us so. Yeah. I mean, that'd be interesting in a little bit, maybe to hear from some of the other candidates if you're doing that. Well, let's go to Moumita Ahmed. How do you think ranked choice voting can serve voters, and how is it affecting how you talk with voters?
Yes, so I am a huge proponent of ranked choice voting. It means more representation for working class Black and Brown communities. This is a minority majority district. So what's beautiful about ranked choice voting is now people can vote based on their values and not be concerned with splitting the vote, especially when there's multiple South Asian candidates running, or multiple Latino or African American candidates running, right? And so what we've done is, when we go door to door, there's no such thing as a strong opponent voter, like a voter who has another choice. For us, that is a voter that we need to also bring to our side. And so one of the things we've done is, on our script, we've trained volunteers who are talking to voters either on the phone or in the streets. If they come across a voter who says, I like this person or this other person, or I know them, so I'm voting for them, we then talk about our aspirational campaign and how, we have all of this coalition supporting us. We have a video that got over 60,000 views, and you should really check out our issues. We're the only renter running, and talk about the issues, and then ask them if they would be willing to make us their second choice, if not their first. So even on in some of our lit, including when we had Cynthia Nixon endorse us, we had her, she said in a video, make Moumita your first choice, we use that language, first or second, in order to make sure that people know when they go to the ballot, that when they see the language of first choice, second choice, it clicks in their mind immediately. So these are like, ways we're kind of psychologically implanting the idea that when voters go to the ballot box on February 2nd, they will, when they see like first choice, second choice, they'll immediately think of our campaign and how we have been educating voters. And we've also been doing that in multiple languages to make sure that folks that don't speak English, or English is not their first language, that they are educated on this issue.
Thank you. Well, interesting. Aditi, you have an interesting question. coming
Yes,
up
I
too.
have a
So love to
very
hear
interesting
responses.
question. Yes, I have a very interesting question. I've been waiting to actually ask this. So everyone, there is a thing called a spoiler effect, which is a common term when multiple candidates of a shared demographic run against each other. That is multiple women, South Asians, and many more, thereby kind of canceling each other out and spoiling the election in terms of representation. My question is, many of you are first-time candidates and majority of the candidates are of color. How does RCV minimize the spoiler effect for you and your candidacy? So we'll start today now with Dr. Neeta Jain.
So it's really a very good question. And a lot of people are concerned from the beginning, as when we speak to our elected officials or any other person in the community. Oh no, there's a lot of South Asians are running. We don't know what to do. So definitely, it's a human nature, and we are trying very hard through the RCV that not to split votes. But I think that it's still going to happen. But we are trying to minimize it by educating people, as we are talking about. I have done a seminar on RCV through my team, and I'm planning another one. And anywhere we go and we tell them, it's not like that so many people are running, or so many people of this ethnicity running, or that ethnicity running. But we tell them that now you have more choices. You can pick and choose, or you can get a combination of good things. It's always good to put a cherry on cake, like that kind of case, right? So, but we don't know. This is our first. I would say that our election is guinea pig in this New York City. And let's see how all other states have very good responses on RCV, and I'm hoping the same here.
Yes, for sure. Let's now move to Soma Syed. Same question for you. How does RCV minimize the spoiler effect for your candidacy?
It's a good question, but with the RCV as being where the first election of 2021, and unfortunately with campaign Board of Election and Campaign Finance Board have not yet to this date invested enough resources and time to educate voters about RCV. It's going to affect our minority communities who are already marginalized, who are afraid of the voting process and the system. And it falls on the candidates to pick up the slack and educate the voters. And even with having a number of candidates from the minority communities, it does split the resources within the small communities. So we have to acknowledge that, regardless of the public matching fund, regardless of the number of candidates and resources we have, it does affect. But what's also good is that a voter, if they have the proper resource and education to know, what, I can vote up to 5, and I'm not taking anything away from my first choice, the candidate that I love, but that takes time. It will take time, maybe 4 or 5 years from now, the ranked choice voting will have been learned by voters and they will be more comfortable. So we do have to acknowledge what's going to be happening on February 2nd, but I'm very confident with my election because of my issues and platform, who I am, and because of my leadership, the voters will pick me as number 1. And so thank you.
Well, thank you for your response. Let's now go to Mr. Jim Gennaro. Same question for you. How does RCV minimize the spoiler effect for your candidacy?
Yeah, I think that the whole idea of ranked choice voting is to turn the splitting, to turn that splitting phenomenon on its head. Somebody runs for office, and she or he has a certain band of supporters, and through ranked choice voting, people of a similar ethnic and racial group will combine votes to create essentially a possible super candidate, so to speak. So it really does turn it on its head. And so that is the good thing about it. I have to agree with Soma in that there has not been enough education by the Board of Elections and by the campaign finance board about it. So this election is going to be a little bit of a shakeout. And if there were, more education, that would be better. Speaking for my campaign, I know all the campaigns probably do the same thing. When we're on the phone with people, we do our best to educate them of the reality of ranked choice voting and how it works. So we're kind of trying to do the job that should have been done in a much better fashion by the Board of Elections and by the campaign finance board. But when elected, I'll make sure that I get that straightened out. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Let's now go to Dilip Nath. Same question for you. How has RCV minimized the spoiler effect for your run?
Well, first of all, I am actually excited to see so many minority candidates are running for office. We are disenfranchised community in many ways. Back in 2005, I ran for this seat, and I realized how marginalized we are. And back in 2007, I formed an organization called New American Voter Association. The purpose of this to register and get New American get to vote in a primary and general and every election. And today, I see the testament of it. There are so many candidates they're running, which is exciting and good thing for us. Now, look, the idea is not South Asian, Black, Latino, is about the issue that are important to community, issues that are important to our senior, issues that are important to our parents, our children. So, and I am asking every voter, please rank your candidate based on their issue. Don't elect somebody just who wants to be a career politician and get year after year and do almost nothing. Those don't do that. This is our opportunity. This is our moment, guys. Let's not waste it. Okay, we need a new leadership that can bring a 21st century solution and pragmatic solution to take this forward, to take our district forward after pandemic. We get a lot of work to be done. We need a different kind of thinking. And I think my involvement being in a PTA, being in a CEC, being in a community board, and working in the community for all these years, I bring those kind of value and experience, and especially my experience in healthcare and higher education vertical.
Well, thank you for your response. Let's now go to Deepti Sharma. Same question for you. How does ranked choice voting minimize the spoiler effect for your candidacy?
Yeah, I mean, we have to obviously acknowledge it, but I think at the end of the day, we are educating our during our voter outreach on the issues, right? That's the most important thing. It's not about who I am as an individual, but what do I bring to the table? Diversity is obviously always extremely important. Race, gender, ethnicity is all really essential, because guess what? This district has never had a mother. This district has never had a woman. This district has never had a person of color. This district has also never had a small business owner. And I am all of those things, right? And so when I talk to individuals on the streets, on the phones, wherever I am, when I am spending my time talking to voters, I talk about the issues. I don't just talk about my race. I don't just talk about my gender. I talk about the things that are affecting them, and focusing my time on, going to different parts of the community, because I grew up in all parts of the community. I grew up going to, middle school on Parsons Boulevard. I grew up going to elementary school on 155th Street. And I grew up going to Queens College for swimming classes, and I grew up going to eat on Hillside Avenue. So I grew up in this entire neighborhood. I grew up on Main Street eating Naomi's falafel. That is who I am, and that is what I talk about. I talk about what my experiences in this neighborhood were about and what they were like, and I relate to people in that way, not just on the race and gender, but on everything. And as a small business owner, as someone who's worked with and advocated for small business owners for the past 10 years, I know what it's like. So our small businesses are failing. Who do we want representing small businesses? Someone who's actually built two on her own and grown and represented hundreds of others, or someone who hasn't had that experience, right? So I think that those are the things that are really important. Talk about the issues, talk about why you're going to be their number one and why you're going to be their number two, and continue down that path.
Thank you for your response. And finally, let's go to Moumita Ahmed. Same question for you. How does ranked choice voting truly minimize the spoiler effect for your campaign?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Look, without RCV, many working class people like me and my family who are renters and the only renter in this race would face so many barriers to running for office. But with this new inclusive system, people who are traditionally not seen in the halls of power have the opportunity to run a competitive campaign and win, because most people agree that during this pandemic, renters like myself faced eviction and had to consider the realities of a system where millions of people are unemployed, not receiving their pandemic assistance, right? And the government, especially city council, has failed us. And so I think that with ranked choice voting, what we do is we're making sure that, you know, incumbents who have contributed to the policy failures that we see today are not reelected, that somebody who is running an aspirational campaign, bringing together small homeowners, bringing together small business owners, renters, the working class, the majority of this country who have been neglected for way too long, under one roof. And you know, the beauty of it is it's ranked choice voting. Yes, it diversifies the slate in terms of our identity, but, you know, issues as well. I'm an activist who has marched, organized marches for Medicare for All, and brought together thousands of people to fight for policies to shift the narrative, right? So to care about the issues like Medicare for All, like housing justice, and policies, protests that have led to policy changes. And activists like me don't normally get this opportunity, but because of ranked choice voting, because of the current times that we live in, we are giving people more options for a fighter who's going to bring real working class representation to City Hall. And so that's why it's really, really great. That, you know, in order to win, candidates have to reach 51%, which means that they can't just not show up to debates hosted by the Bangladeshi community, so that, you know, they can't just ignore certain pockets of the community just because, you know, they don't come out and vote. And so that's really, really important. And I you know, RCV has done wonders for our race, this district, and I cannot be more grateful and stoked and just like honored to be here, to be a candidate running in the first ever ranked choice voting election in the history of New York City.
Well, thank you, Moumita. That was great. From all the candidates, David, I am in love with this ranked choice voting idea. I think this is phenomenal. It gives a lot of chances to individuals, and it truly reduces the fight amongst the candidates. So I like that.
Yeah, and I think Moumita put it well, that we are part of something historic here, and so this is an historic forum that we're all participating in today. So that's pretty cool. All right, I have a question though, and then we're going to get to audience questions after this. This is a pretty straightforward one. Okay, we're going to start with Deepti Sharma. Who is your second choice?
Of course you asked that. We are still analyzing our second choice based off of how these forums go. I want to know that people are the same in every room, and don't pick and choose what they say when it's convenient.
Maybe I should have asked everyone and set to put it into the chat, and we can say 3, 2, 1, post your answer. But now people are going to get a chance to think, I guess. But okay, let's go to Jim Gennaro. Who is your second choice?
I mean, the person I would ask my voters to vote for, number 2.
When you go to fill out your ballot, or you know, I guess so we're thinking about that.
Oh, you mean
you
like
would
me
fill
personally?
out your number 2. Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
your second choice.
My ballot is private. I'm not going to divulge that. Certainly, I will, you know, keep my eye on the candidates as the race progresses, and see what they do and see what they say, and see if they even have a basic understanding of what the office of city council is and the powers that it has. I think there's kind of a, you know, there's not a you know, universal understanding of the powers of the office among the people who are running for the office, and that is, you know, curious. And also in terms of, you know, whom I will vote for, number 2, that, you know, is, you know, to be determined. And in terms of the voters at large, I don't want to sell them short. They're very smart people, and I'll leave that up to them.
Okay. Kind of a cop-out answer there. Let's go to.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was a cop-out answer. I believe in the intelligence of the voters.
Okay.
And everyone likes to try to manipulate the voters and tell them to do this and tell them to do that. Everyone tries to outsmart the voters, and they're very hard to outsmart. So no, I reject your characterization.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Soma Syed. Who is your second choice?
I have yet to formulate who the second choice. I think there are more debates coming up, and as we get close to the election, early voting, then the election day, then I'll have a decision. But this is what I could say. It's about policies, about issues, and it's about temperament, and it's about future leadership. We don't want to go back to the past leadership, and we don't want to go into future leadership where you have to know what you're getting into, what the city council means, what power it has. So I will wait. And in the meantime, I am educating my voters about what is ranked choice voting is and what that means to each voter and how they should decide.
All right, well, three kind of similar answers there. Let's go to Moumita Ahmed. Who's your second choice?
Look, I like to walk the walk. I helped pass ranked choice voting. And here's how I'm thinking about my vote. Obviously, I'm voting for myself first. Sorry, everyone. But I have 4 additional choices. Okay. One of my most important issues is housing justice as the only renter running. And so far, only Deepti Sharma has put forth a plan as detailed as mine. So, and we were both endorsed by the Jewish vote. So she will get one of my votes. But as a community organizer and a fellow Bangladeshi and founder of Queens Mutual Aid Network, I really appreciate how hard Dilip Nath has worked through NAVA USA. So he will also get one of my votes. And, you know, I appreciate that Neeta Jain also supports taxing the rich. We both said that on a panel together. So she will also get one of my votes. And then, you know, I'm still debating on all 5, but I wanted to make sure that our voters know that at the end of the day, people do have choices and who those choices are. And I think for all of us as candidates, if we can't even do ourselves decide who to vote for a second, how are we going to educate our voters, right? So I am willing to publicly say it. These are my top choices.
Well, thank you. And let's go to Dilip Nath. Same question. If not you, who?
So, look, without naming the name, I think it's pretty straightforward. First and foremost, I'm asking everyone to vote for 5 of their choice. That's the most important. Don't just vote for one candidate, vote for 5 candidates. And then my top priority is education, education, education. And my second is healthcare. We cannot let our senior die any longer. They are devastated. So look for the candidate who are really advocating. It's pretty obvious, as you can see. And the third is my housing crisis. And there are only 1 or 2 candidates who is really, you know, speaking strongly about housing issue. You choose that person as one of the choice. And my last person is really who deeply care about the community, who has root in the community, not just, you know, I am this, I am that, but actually has done work in the community. So these are my 4th choice. I don't have the 5th one yet. I have to figure that out.
All right. Well, maybe we'll check back in a couple of weeks with all the candidates who have said that they want to wait to see who they'll be picking 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And let's finish this question up with Neeta Jain, Dr. Neeta Jain. Who, if not you, who?
A very good question. As you heard all the answers previously, I would say that I'm still evaluating, but I'm very clear what issues are very important for my community. As you all know that I've been serving this community for last 30 years, almost 3 decades, and I know my community inside out. And of course, I will be the first one to vote for me as a first choice. And I definitely want to make 4 other choices based on my evaluation towards the close to election. And I also want to urge everyone, whoever is on this call, please make 5 choices. As you know, and as you learned in the beginning of this forum, that 5 choices will give you the most strong person to represent your district. Whoever will get 50 plus 1, that will be your representative in city council. So please do vote for all 5.
All right, well, thank you. I imagine that question is going to come up, and so we'll check back in on that as we continue with this these campaigns here. But
Yes,
Aditi, I think we got some questions from the audience in these last few minutes here.
For sure. And we just want to raise awareness that please go out and vote, everyone. It's really, really important to exercise the right you've been given. So important to advocate for that. Let's go to audience questions real quickly. I have this question. I think it's a really good one. What are you doing to educate voters on completing their ballots? Are you specifically asking them to choose yourself as a candidate beyond the number 1 choice? Let's start with Mr. Jim Gennaro.
Yeah, I mean, when we get on the phone and talk to voters,
right?
Yeah, certainly. We lay out what we have to offer, and if they're interested in voting us, number 1, but we advocate. We educate and we advocate. We let them know that there are 5 votes that they can make, and we hope that we can make it into their list of 5 candidates that they vote for, and we urge them to do that. I think we're all trying to educate people the best we can, and certainly it's in every campaign's best interest to make sure that you are considered, if not 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. I think that just makes eminent good sense. I think we're all doing that.
Well, thank you for your response. Let's now go to Dilip. Dilip, same question for you. What are you doing to educate voters on completing their ballots? And are you specifically asking them to choose you beyond number 1 choice?
Well, first and foremost, we ask them to choose me as the number 1, and I lay out my issue. And if I'm not the number 1 choice, I ask them, my volunteer, my canvasser, asking them to choose me as a number 2, number 3, whatever they like. But the most important thing, we're asking every voters to choose 5 of their choice, rank 5 of their candidate, 1 through 5, and that is the driving message from day 1 and until the election day.
All right, thank you for your response. Let's now go to Deepti Sharma. Same question for you. How are you going to educate the voters on their ballots, and are you specifically asking them to choose you beyond number 1 choice?
Yes, and something I've already answered before, but yes, we are educating through our script, making sure that all our volunteers know how to talk about ranked choice voting. So we do a training session with them, and it's a part of our script. Our first question is always, how are you doing? And then it's, do you know about the February 2nd election? Do you know that it's ranked choice? And then we walk them through it if they don't know. Obviously, we always want us to be number 1, but if beyond that, we do make sure that we're educating people that they can rank us as 2, 3, and so on.
All right, thank you for your response. Let's now go to Moumita Ahmed. The same question for you. What are you doing to educate the voters on their ballots? And are you specifically asking them to choose you beyond choice number 1?
Yeah, I also answered this previously. We have lit in multiple languages explaining how ranked choice voting works, and just reminding people, like, look, we need a bold leader who is going to say what's on their mind and not beat around the bushes or triangulate. And I am that person, and our campaign has the coalition, the diverse coalition, from endorsements from the Working Families Party to the Jewish Vote to Hispanic American Voter Association, the Asian American Chamber of Commerce New York chapter, to elected officials like State Senator Julia Salazar and Ron Kim. And we are running an aspirational campaign. So even if I am not their first choice for whatever reason, that as a renter, as a working class person, I deserve to be their second choice. And I think that when voters hear this, they appreciate it. They appreciate that a working class person is running, somebody whose family has experienced the struggles that working people in this district have faced, from worrying about homelessness to unemployment to transportation to work. things like that. And so absolutely, I'm telling people, make me your 1 or 2, 100%.
Well, all right. Thank you for your response. Let's now go to Soma Syed. Same question for you. How are you educating everyone on their ballots? And what are you asking them to choose you beyond the choice number 1?
Absolutely. With ranked choice voting, I'm asking every voter that I come in contact with that to pick me as number 1. But at the same time, each voter has a choice to vote for 5 people. And, you know, I'm asking them to exercise their right to vote. And they have 5 votes. They should vote for 5 people. Whether they do it or not, that's dependent on each voter, whether they will exercise it or not. As a practicing attorney, as someone who grew up in Jamaica, Queens, someone who has been serving this community for 20 years, and someone who has a small business, someone who has been a community advocate and an activist, and someone who has the leadership skills and confidence to lead in city council, I'm asking them to vote for me as number 1. And then they can pick whomever they like. And that's a voter's choice. And that's their prerogative, who they want to vote for.
All right, thank you for your response. And finally, Dr. Neeta Jain, same question for you. What are you doing to educate voters on completing their ballots? And are you specifically asking them to choose you beyond the choice number 1?
All right. So as previously I mentioned that I have done a seminar on ranked choice voting, and I'm also planning another one soon before the election. And of course, individually, whenever I'm speaking to my voters, and they have asked me a couple of times, like, what is this ranked choice voting? How I'm going to vote? Oh, I heard that I can vote for more than 1 person. And I say, absolutely, that is right. And then I show them, I have a sample ballot on my phone. I open that right away there, and I show them, this is how the ballot is going to look, and this is how you can vote. And of course, if I'm running in to win it, right? So I will ask them to choose me as your number 1 choice, and then definitely give 4 others. Thank you so much for your question.
Of course, thank you for your answer, everyone. David, what did you think of that?
Well, I think it was an interesting forum. I mean, I think it's interesting to hear everyone talk about ranked choice voting. I know we got some really great specific questions in the chat feature. We're going to have to wrap up in a minute. And, you know, I look forward to asking candidates some of these additional, issue specific questions in the coming days and weeks, and hearing their responses. And then, you know, maybe hearing even who they're going to rank as their 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th choices. But, you know, I want to thank Common Cause for organizing this forum. Thank all the candidates for joining. Aditi, thanks for co-moderating today.
Of course. And everyone, please go ahead, all the candidates, make sure you drop in your website. So if people want more information about your campaign and the issues you're fighting for, they can get more insight into it. And we encourage all the viewers that are here with us right now to connect with these candidates and ask the questions yourself. I'm sure they'll love to answer to their own constituents. So thank you again for your time here on this forum. It was amazing. Thank you, Common Cause, for organizing it. And David, it was a pleasure.
Definitely. Check out queenseagle.com. We'll be continuing to cover this race pretty in depth, especially as we head to early voting in just about 2 weeks. So thank you all.
And for everyone, this entire event would be telecasted on ITV Gold. We'll be showing highlights from the event, so stay tuned for that as well.
Very nice. Very nicely done.
Thank you.
Congratulations to Aditi and David. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you
all
all
very much.
Joining in.
Great to
Good
be
job.
here.